Welcome back. And after that wonderful talk by Aditya Srivatsan, who is a Stanford grad and a Baylor and currently pursuing medicine in the Baylor College of Medicine, we have Vinnie Gupta, who is a change maker in the college admission space. Vinnie is co-founder and CEO of UCEZ, a company whose mission is to simplify college admission for immigrant families. He's really passionate about helping immigrant families achieve their American dream through high quality college education for their children. Um, he's uh, he's an well established expert, and his expertise has been showcased in major media outlets such as USA Today, the Washington Times, as well as various ethnic publications such as India West, by the way, one of the community partners of JKYog, and India Currents. UCEZ is also, incidentally, a community partner for the JKYog Youth Conference. Uh, and Vinny is a frequent guest on multiple radio stations across the United States. And personally, I too have worked with Vinny in the past, and uh, really sessions are of such value to anybody who listens to them because it gives you a fresh new perspective on how to approach really college admissions when you're in and your career when you're in the crucial years of your life. And I really, really appreciated Vinny G's perspective on that. So Vinny G, very warm welcome to you. And we are very grateful and glad to have you as our honored speaker at the JKU Youth Conference. And without further ado, I will turn it over to you.
Aditi ji, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a privilege to have the opportunity to speak with the leaders of tomorrow that will protect our our world, our planet for the future. So thank you for this privilege. Just a few points before I get started. I moved from India to the United States about 30 years back. So a lot of my talk today is going to be US centric. For those of your attendees from other parts of the world, I'm hoping that a lot of the content would be applicable to you as well. But I just wanted to give a little heads up that a lot of my recent experiences have been colored by being here. So that is one. The second thing is that my friends tell me I talk a lot. I'll try to contain my structured talk and still leave plenty of time for questions. And hopefully all the young people today, they would have plenty of questions and make me squirm with tough questions because that's how I will grow as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to start with just a very, very, very quick introduction of my company. I understand this is not a forum to promote my company, etc. But I think you need to know who I am a little bit more, and then we will jump in. So the company that I co-founded is called UCEZ. The name stands for University and College Admissions Made Easy. And me and another Indian American, we founded this company about 5 years back. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley, California. We support students from all over the country and even international. Our mission is to simplify college admission for students with foreign-born parents. And the reason is, as an immigrant into this country, even though I went to the really prestigious private high schools in India, followed by BITS Pilani and then the IIM in Calcutta, even with all of that, this journey through high school and college admissions for my own children was very stressful. And inspired from that, me and my co-founder, Vaitish Koladi, we started UCEZ with a very simple mission. Let's make sure that other families like ours, millions of them, don't go through the same stress as we did. So currently, we are an online academy for college prep and admissions. We support students from grades 8 till 12 and for college transfers. And as I said before, we support students in 26 states. So with that, I'm going to start with a very short video, literally less than a minute long, to set the context for our conversation today. And the main message here is You don't need to sacrifice your passion to be able to get into good colleges or into good careers. My contention, my hypothesis is actually that passion is needed for getting into top colleges and for top careers. So let me stop sharing this. I'm going to switch to this short video, which hopefully will establish context. This is from the late Steve Jobs of Apple Computers fame. All right, here we go.
Yeah. People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit because they're sane. Right? Who would want to put up with this stuff if you don't love it? So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. And the way that it did.
Right. So I'm going to stop sharing this. All right. So hopefully that gave some context about what we are talking about. So I want to start this conversation by talking about myself. It's a little hard always because I'm going to be admitting my own mistakes, my own vulnerabilities. But as a father of two wonderful children in their 20s, I've learned that you got to parent by example, and it's okay to talk about your vulnerabilities. So here I am. So here is my life journey. I was born in India and went to some of the best private schools in the country. When the time came to, or actually in high school, I remember I was a good student academically. And I remember there was this music performance at the school level that I did. And it was very well received, and I was so proud. And the principal, there was a lot of recognition and all of that stuff. But came home and talked about that to my dad. And he's like, that is all good, but focus on academics because you need to make a career. 40 years or so into it, I still remember that time, that how something that I really enjoyed, somebody just threw a bucket of cold water on that. Fast forward, applying for college, I had no idea as to what should I be studying. My dad, bless his heart, he's still with us. He found that studying electrical engineering is a lucrative career back in India. This is in early 80s. And I went to BITS Pilani. I was a pretty strong student in sciences and math, but very quickly I realized electrical and electronics engineering, those 3 E's made no sense to me. I had no interest in any of that. So if you ask my friends from back at that time, and if you ask them that, hey, what did this guy do? I played a lot of cricket. I became really good at cricket. I played a lot of carom board and I became like a carom board champion. But electrical and electronics engineering I was smart enough to graduate, but I wasted 4 years of my life. Talk about acknowledgement from professors. The only acknowledgement, a pat on the back that I got was from a professor in an elective on something related to history, on a specific subject called Marxian thoughts. Some of you parents that might still remember Karl Marx and communism. I hope that you're getting a sense of what not following your passion does. So from there, I said, you know what, this engineering stuff is just not for me. So I went and picked an MBA from the IIM Calcutta, still not following my passion. From there, I went to the corporate world in India, migrated to the United States about 30 years back, went through a string of startups and big companies. Every day, a drudgery. What does that mean? I made enough money to afford a house in expensive Silicon Valley, took care of the family. Kids went to good colleges, but every day the feeling was that I am professionally, that I am into general management. I'm a generalist. Our corporate world, our business world focuses us to get into narrow boxes of specialization. But that was just me. I was a generalist. I wanted to do so many different things. But in the corporate world, I was bucketed into sales or marketing or this or that. Every single day, I'm like, I'm getting older. My time on this earth is limited. Am I just going to go away one day, wasting all my God-given intelligence and talent? And believe me, it's a horrible feeling. It just makes you unhappy, hollow from within. And whenever I would work from home at 3 in the afternoon, several times, I would go to the backyard, side yard, work on the plants. That gave me more joy. And my wife would like ask me, I mean, what is going on? Like, why are you enjoying plants at 3 in the afternoon? So one day I said, you know what? I was working for Cisco Computers. Nothing wrong with that company. It's a nice company, but Cisco was in the business of selling these big routers and switches for driving the worldwide internet. Good for them. I never related to those machines. Seriously, I didn't. And I realized as I figured myself out that I'm a people's person. What gives me joy is working with people. I'm very empathetic. I enjoy connecting with people, to hear about their life stories, to counsel them, to guide them. Those machines was a waste of 25 years of my life. So one day, and this is a true story, one day I said, you know what? I was almost 50. I'm just not going to do it anymore. So cold turkey, I called my boss and I said, I am quitting. And she's like, what can we do to make you stay? I said, nothing. I just was feeling hollow. I just want to be free. It was very, very hard for her to understand, but there I was, just gone. I cut the safety net. I was gone. So 2 years into it, fast forward, my wife of 25 years, now 30 years, she actually said, I've never seen you this happy in the 30 years of my life or 30 years of our marriage, because now you're doing what you are happy to do. So now I don't want you guys, especially the young people listening to me and Aditi today, I don't want you guys to spend 25 and 30 years of your precious life to do drudgery of a lifetime. So I hope that from our discussion today, one of the takeaways would be that figure out what makes you happy early on, take risk to do it. Now, on the positive side of my own journey, before we switch on to different topics I want to discuss, I am making a real difference. There are adults, people older than me, who would come up to me at a seminar or after their student had gone into a good college, they would give a hug. Grown-up men would cry on my shoulders. Believe me on this, and Swamiji and other spiritual leaders that might have spoken with you already over this youth conference or would speak with you, they'll talk to you about when you see that kind of gratefulness coming from grown-ups, $10 million check from somebody, or that feeling of just touching humanity in a way that, a ordinary human being like me could make a difference. I still remember that day when there was this low-income family from Punjab that we supported, and that family, the parents are immigrants in this country. They were doing low-income jobs. No one from their family had gone into a college. We gave them completely free help. We could afford that because I took the risk, remember, of starting this company. And I still remember that day from 3 years back. The kid was driving to a top college, and the dad and the mom both called me. The dad was crying on the phone. It's like, you changed our family's life. I cried. I came back home, and for the next half hour, it's like, this is what is happiness. Or in Hindi, for those of you who understand the notion of Anand, pure joy. That is what I would suggest that's where we can go towards. Other positive of this one, because I cut the cord, the safety cord, the false notion of safety. My daughter, who's almost 30 now, she finished her MBA from a top college. I am going to hold off information to protect her privacy. she wanted to do something to give back in terms of equitable financial literacy. At the end of the first year of MBA, when not all, a lot of other students, fellow batchmates, they were going into these fancy internships with Microsoft and Facebook, she actually dumped all that and went into an internship which taught her entrepreneurship. And now she is an entrepreneur trying to level the playing field for financial literacy. So see, I took the risk. I had no idea where I was going, right? But look at all the goodness, happiness in my family, and change trajectory of my own children. So with that, I want to share a couple of slides. Then I want to talk about college admissions a little bit and how passion links to college admissions. So here is a summary of what I just talked about. Life before a mission-based career: hollow, unfulfilling, missing impact, and it makes you feel horrible. And that toxicity, the negativity, the feeling of hollowness, it transmits into everything in your family and your friends. You're not doing anyone any favor. Life after following my passion, I felt that I'm using my skills and my education to the fullest ability or to the fullest extent. Life-giving, meaningful impact. Imagine, right, what you can do with all this. Let's talk about college admissions. I'm going to tell a story, then I'm going to come here to the slides. Other day, I was speaking with a Indian American high school kid who is going to be getting into 10th grade. Wonderful kid, very well-spoken, innocent, pure of heart. I love these children. And I love to talk to these kids. And I was just talking to her that, so tell me about yourself. And the first thing that comes out is that, I'm going to be in 10th grade. I have mostly A's, couple of B's. I said, no, tell me about yourself. This is what is academic. What do you want to do? Or what do you like to do outside school? I have friends. I like to socialize. I have my sister. I like to play with her. Okay, that's great. What gives you happiness? If you had only half hour available to you, and if I were to say to you, in this half hour, you can do whatever you feel like, no constraints, and your parents are supportive of that, what would that be? Vinnie, uncle, I don't know. Then I said, okay, imagine, so what kind of college do you want to go to? Would Harvard be nice, which is the most famous university in the world? She said, yeah, sure, Vinnie, uncle, that'll be cool. I said, okay, so let's do a role play. Say that you and I are sitting next to each other on a plane, and I am an admissions director from Harvard, and I'm speaking with you, and your name is, I'm just going to make this name up. Your name is Neha, or you're Aditi, because Aditi is our host today. It's like, Aditi, would you be interested in applying to Harvard? And Aditi says, sure. Okay, so tell me, Aditi, why should Harvard take you in? Why are you different? Harvard takes 1 out of 20 students that apply to us, each one of them outstanding from US and from other parts of the world. Aditi, why are you different? Oh, I am different, Mr. Admissions Director, because I am a straight A student. Aditi, tell me more. The number of students that apply to Harvard, I can fill my class of 2,000 every year. I can fill that class 25 times over with straight A students. How are you different, Aditi? Oh, I had SAT. I had a 1560 on that. Tell me more, Aditi. I can fill my class 25 times over with students that have perfect SAT. Remember, Aditi, I take only 2,000 students, and I take 1 out of 20 that apply to me. Aditi, why are you different? What are you passionate about, Aditi? What risk did you take to follow that passion? And Aditi comes back and says, you made me think, you know what? I'm really passionate about protecting elephants. They're a wonderful species, and so many of them are dying because of how humans are not treating them right. I really care about them. Mr. Admissions Director, I haven't done too much with other activities. I just study. I love my family, but other than that, it's all about elephants. So I've done fundraising to send money to elephant sanctuaries. Over the last 3 summers, I went to Thailand to be at an elephant sanctuary to volunteer to take care of elephants. I do blogs to promote literacy about protection of animals. Mr. Admissions Director, is that going to be enough? Because I did only one thing. I did not do very many things. And the admission director said, Aditi, you should be proud because you are passionate about one thing and you've showed that passion over multiple years. You took the risk of not doing other sometimes mundane things that a lot of students do because they're copying each other, like volunteering at a hospital when your heart is not in it, volunteering at a senior center when you know that you're doing this only to build a resume and your heart is not in it. Aditi, you followed your passion, you stuck with it. You know what? You are different because you believe in something and you stuck with it and you took risks to do it. Aditi, how do we talk more? You see the difference? A lot of us, what do we do? In terms of if we are in high school or in middle school, we try to maximize on our activities. We don't talk to ourselves to figure out, what is it that I really care about? What is it that I cannot live without? What will I let go to do that? If you're passionate about something, you will find the time to do it at whatever cost, right? So whenever a student says to me, Mr. Gupta, that's how they address me because that's what they do it at school, not to say that that's the right thing. Or parents would speak to me that our kid has been getting a couple of B's or a C here or there. This kid really enjoys playing volleyball or basketball. He's really passionate about that. You know what? Because we want the student to focus only on academics, we're going to stop the volleyball or basketball. And I sit like this with my head in my hand, and it's like toxicity definition. What do I mean by that? And you might have heard it from other speakers today, and you might hear this again. I believe that how we feel about ourselves, or like the previous speaker said, happiness, emotional well-being, be it adults or be it kids, how do we feel about ourselves is the fountain of positive energy that determines everything that we do, academics included. If you're motivated, if you feel good about life, if you're feeling good about yourself, if you're feeling top of the world, if you feel loved, if your emotional tank is full, your academics will improve as well. Low motivation is toxic. It hurts everything, including academics. You cannot isolate that. So it's very, very important as students and parents of these students that we understand what is the fountain of emotional energy of these students. Do whatever, don't take that fountain away. What is my fountain? Music, Indian classical music. Do bad things happen to me as an adult? Absolutely. Do customers yell? Sometimes they do. Do employees leave? Sometimes they do. Sometimes are there harsh words between me and the wife? Sometimes, even though both of us love each other. On a rainy day, what gives me solace? Where do I hide? For me, it's that half hour before sleep on music. Nobody can take that away from me. Now imagine if I were younger and if my parent were to say, you know what, your grades are not good. You cannot do that half hour of music every day. You've just cut my soul out of me. I'm going to become sad. That's going to hurt my academics and everything else. So remember that everyone, adults or kids, high schoolers, middle schoolers, college students, millennials, everybody needs that source of fountain, that fountain of energy. That could be from work. Hopefully it is. Or otherwise it could be from wherever, but you need that. So let me share a couple of slides to talk about how does all this link to college admissions. Just a couple of slides. I'm not much of a slide guy. So top colleges, especially in-state public universities, if you live in California, the University of California, in Texas, University of Texas, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, University of Virginia, top-ranked public colleges, and obviously the Ivy Leagues and similar, like University of Chicago, where my son went, they're all looking for what is called holistic admissions. They are looking for GPA, SAT, and coursework, even though for majority, not majority, for most, yes, majority of top colleges for next year's admission cycle, if you're a current senior, most of them have made SAT and ACT optional. So they do look at these academic parts of your profile, but what they're looking for, equally importantly, if not more, is what have you done outside academics? And all that shows in the form of extracurriculars. What have you done over summer? Essays. Essays are not about writing about World War II. These are writing about who am I as Aditi? What do I want a college admissions officer to know about me as a person, my feelings, how do I view the world, all of that stuff. Interviews that they do, demonstrated interest. Why do I want to go to Harvard? And why am I really passionate about going to a place like Harvard? And let that come out, and much more. This is where top-ranked colleges decide whether you would get in or not. Among other things, recommendation letters. Stanford University, for those of you that care about that, it is the toughest college to get into at this time. They take about 1 out of 25 students. Speaking with admissions officers there, they say that finally your admission is determined by 2 things: the quality of essays you write, because that tells us who you are and why are you different. Remember, there's so many other Stanford applicants that have great grades and GPA. And the second is recommendation letters. What are others, teachers, counselors, community leaders, what are they saying about you? And all of that adds up to comprehensive review, also called holistic admissions. So to create all of this stuff on the left-hand side, the best way to do that is to identify your passion early. And little later in my talk, I'll talk about some tools for you to find your passion. But essentially, we're talking about not just doing things like you can do marching band. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But it'll be great if you are leader of that marching band. It'll be even more awesome if you started something new that links to your passion. Independent, unique work. Somebody on our team, this guy also happens to be in a school board, and he says, if you think like others, you become like them. College admissions to top colleges is about becoming unique, different, special. The starting point of that is to think differently. If your activities are same as others, how is that unique? So I would challenge you to even think about, there are so many problems in the world that we're living in today. I'm sure that you're passionate about something and say, you know what, I'm going to try in whatever little way to solve this problem, which is a little bit different than others. And it can be done. Meaningful volunteering. My co-founder, his son, let me put in a plug for him. He's a rising junior. And during COVID times, he realized that a lot of seniors, because they are vulnerable from an infection perspective, they cannot even get groceries. So this guy very quickly, he and his friends quickly put up a website through which seniors could contact them, and these kids would drive around, get the groceries and deliver them to these seniors and keep everyone safe. That is meaningful volunteering, right? So think about some of these things. Passion-free high school path, and it disappoints me that I see this so many times. Focus just on GPA, test score, and courses. It misses all of these things that we talked about. And it's unfortunate that every year, students and parents after the senior year, they would come up and say, Mr. Gupta, we are feeling very sad. Obviously makes me sad as well. My kid did everything that they could in academics, straight A student. We spent $3,000 for getting some professional help for preparing for SAT or ACT, but still my student missed the dream colleges. The simple answer is you had the passion missing through your high school journey. And to get to a good college, you thought that that is the only way. You just took the wrong road. You just went down the completely wrong journey. Now, for some of you who might be thinking that, hey, listen, I'm just good at academics. I really don't have a passion. But first of all, I don't believe that from anyone. I think everyone is passionate about something. But even if, say, you're a 17-year-old right now talking to me and said, Mr. Gupta, I really don't have a passion. I'm just focused on academics. I do want to assure you that there are certain colleges in this country that would still take you. So don't worry about college admissions. I'm just talking about top colleges. So what does it mean to follow your passion and to see the rewards that I got as a middle-aged professional or that you can get as a young person? There are three elements of this. Support from your key stakeholders. So if you're a young person, typically your parents have to buy in. I firmly believe, especially as a parent of two children, that without the support of parents, it's very hard to follow your passion. Because then within the family, you're working at cross purposes. So I hope that the parents that are listening to me right now and to the other wonderful speakers that have come before me or after, that you would support your kid following his or her passion, because it's not a nice to have. It's not like eating ice cream. In today's world, it is how these kids would succeed in college admissions and in life and ultimate happiness. Passion is not a nice to have. It is a must to have. Second piece is you need to take risk. Why? Your time is limited. As a high schooler or as a college student or even as a young adult like Aditi working for someone else, your time is limited. You need to prioritize. Prioritization involves risk. Like in that elephant example, that kid took the risk of not doing other things. So would you take that risk? And only if you believe so strongly in your passion would you take that risk. And the third is not just talk, let's act on it. Following passion cannot be like saying on January 1, I'm going to lose weight this year. Or you know what, I'm going to spend more time with my friends and family. Or I'm going to write that letter to the grandparents that I've been wanting to write for the last 12 months or 12 years. Don't let this be like that. It's a life-defining source of energy. So support from your key stakeholders, take risk, and act. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to talk about a few other things. Let's talk about, while I grab a drink of water and compose my thoughts, and you guys can get a little break too. Let's talk about what's stopping you from following your passion. And then I want to give you some tools about finding your passion. What is stopping us? And I think that there are two things that stop us from following passion. The first and the biggest one is fear. Now, my assumption here is that most of our listeners are Indian Americans in some way, either living in India or in United States or Canada, etc. See, remember when I was a kid, 40 years back or so, the Indian economy had a huge unemployment rate. If I did not develop a good career or make a good living, the financial security of my family would be at risk. It was a very different situation. As far as if you are in US right now, pre-COVID, our overall unemployment rate was at a practical zero. Our youth unemployment rate last year, everyone in the country, including rural areas, was at 8%. That's it. The market, the job market is very, very different in the United States. So why are we afraid here? College admissions. In India, we had to follow a prescriptive path because our college admissions were based upon board exams or an entrance test like the IIT exam. They did not consider anything else. There were so few college seats. Here, there are thousands of good colleges available. You will never be in a situation that you'll not have a good college. What are you afraid of? The third thing is, if you're living in the United States and if you're a young person, because we are ethnically, or as an ethnicity, as an ethnic group, we are the most affluent group in the country, most likely your parents have a home. Most likely your parents have a financial cushion built in. It's unlikely that when you follow your passion that you will be on the streets and starve, right? Your parents would be able to give you a corner in their home. You can wear jeans and t-shirts and eat out from the refrigerator, right? I'm not saying that that's what life should be, but your basic human needs are going to be met. Where is the fear? The second is lack of understanding of college admissions. I already talked to you or already spoke about how holistic, passion-based high school journey is the way to go. And remember, in our contemporary job market, the increasing trend is towards not specialists. The trend is towards people that are multidisciplinary, that understand their core expertise but do other things. And creativity is at an increased premium. And what drives creativity is passion. So just keep that in mind. So these were some of the reasons why we don't follow our passion. Now let's talk about some tools about how do I find my passion? And I'm going to rush through this because I want to leave some time for questions from the audience and Aditi. The simplest way would be to ask yourself that question. If I had only half hour available on this planet, sounds like a morose question. It's not meant to be that. If 30 minutes only is what I had, and I could do whatever I felt like, whatever it is, and my parents, my loved ones, nobody will question me, what would that thing be? If you don't have that answer, talk to your friends and ask them, hey, when do you think you saw me the happiest? Talk to dad and mom. Mom and dad, when do you think I was happy? When was I top of my game? Talk to your teachers, your coaches. They will know if you ask them that question. Try to repeat those big moments in life. And if you're a young person, 8th grader, 9th grader, I understand if you're still unsure, try out a few things and you will get that answer. But do something about it. So I want to close now by talking about a few things. First is, if you are in the United States as children of immigrant parents, I want to give you some additional motivation, additional inspiration to follow your passion. First, your parents, including me, we sacrificed a lot when we migrated from India or wherever. Uprooting from your home country, I still tend to call India home because I was there for 28 years of my life. To go away from the sights, smells, sounds of where you grew up, just the air, it is, every immigrant misses that every single day. These are huge sacrifices. My parents are still in India. I miss them every day. They didn't do you a favor, by the way, right? I don't say that to my kids, but by coming to this country, your parents have given you a wonderful platform. Financially, education, most of Indian American families are stable families. They've given you that emotional platform. Use that platform to get rid of fear and fly as high as you can. Because if you don't, who would? What is the risk, guys? I mean, seriously, if you don't, who would? No financial risk, no emotional risk, great education. What's holding you back? What is the point of a passionless life with this kind of situation? I also want to challenge you with one more thing. Fortunately or unfortunately in most cases, our world that you would be custodians of in a few years, people like me are getting older and beyond our prime. you would be dealing with huge world challenges, climate change to begin with, extreme polarization in politics in most advanced countries. As an example, you guys need to be making a difference. And how do you make a difference in these kind of situations? Get into positions of influence. What does that mean? Get into policy-making roles where you can impact these key issues like climate change or political polarization. For example, before I leave this planet, my dream is that somebody from the community would be on the Supreme Court of the United States. And why not? That's where these big decisions get taken, right? So I want to challenge you guys that by following your passions, you can make a difference to the biggest issues facing our world right now. In closing, I want to talk to you about two stellar examples of really young people that inspire me every single day. I hope they would inspire you as well. And my point in sharing those stories with you is, what is your excuse for not following your passion? I want to start by sharing about Greta Thunberg. I'm sure that as young people, all of you are aware about her. She is barely 17 years old, originally from Sweden. And I'm going to go back here and read something from Wikipedia for you guys so that you can learn about her on your own. Sorry for the cluttered screen. Greta is 17 years old. She is originally from Sweden. She suffers from Asperger's syndrome and several other mental illnesses, including selective mutism. She also suffered from depression. It's all here. I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, obsessive compulsive disorder, and selective mutism. Let's look at the good part. Her influence on the world stage has been described by The Guardian, which is a newspaper in the United Kingdom, and other newspapers as the Greta effect. She has received numerous honors and awards, including, et cetera, et cetera. Time magazine, 100 most influential people across the world. Guys, there are 8 billion people in the world. She's among the 100 in those. Youngest Time Person of the Year, and 2 consecutive nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. She's barely 17. She had Asperger's syndrome, obsessive compulsive disorder. She suffered from depression, and yet here she is. If she can, you can. What is your excuse? I want to talk one last one, and then we'll come to Aditi. I'm going to share one more time. And this time, let's talk about Malala Yousafzai, if you can see my screen. No, you can't. Hang on. I'm sure this face is familiar. She is 27 years or 27 or 23 years old. Let's close this, go back and read about her on Wikipedia. Sorry, just one second. Okay. Malala Yousafzai, born in Pakistan in 1997. She's currently 23 years old. At an early stage, her family came to run a chain of schools in the region. She became an activist for women and children empowerment. The Taliban at that time felt pretty threatened by her. In 2012, when she was 15 years old, while on a bus, she and 2 other students were shot by a Taliban gunman in an assassination attempt. She was barely 15 years old. She was shot in the head. She was in coma for 3 weeks. Coma for 3 weeks. She moved from there, from Pakistan to England, where she survived with great hospital care. And then she went on from there to become the youngest Nobel Prize laureate in the history of the planet that we live in. She was shot in the head, was in coma for 3 weeks. If she can, you can. What is your excuse for not following your passion? There is no excuse, guys. Aditi, back to you.
It was a really moving talk, Vinny ji. It was a really moving talk. I was actually reading about Malala Yousafzai, and I watched her Nobel Peace Prize, the video, and the way it just seems like she has overcome fear, like she has faced fear and she has overcome it. And there's a particular line in that speech where she says, never again should a child have to fight for the right to education. And truly, I mean, being 16 and making that impact, and at 23, she's in Oxford. And I don't think she ever planned that I'm going to go to Oxford or do it. She was just fighting for education, and she's not going to stop until every kid is educated. And that is a very moving story. And the same about Greta Thunberg, great examples that you shared, Viniji. Following your passion, knowing who you are and what you want and what you need to do in order to get there. Well, that's the third step. But if you don't know who you are and what you want, then you're not going to get to what I need to do. And that's where the what I need to do, which is where the college admissions and the career and all of those aspects come in there. What do I need to do to get there? And eventually, the trend I have been noticing since the morning is every single person, any innovator and exceptional person who has come here on the platform of this conference has shared that it's happiness that leads to success.
Not
and
the
it's
other way around.
And not the other way around. And at JKYog, we're all about being happy. We're all about it's the whole. That's the reason that JKYog exists, to transform people at every level. For exactly that reason, to find out who you are and what your purpose is, and then how can you make a difference in the community based on that purpose. So a very interesting question came in, because this is something I had asked Nesar Gigji in the morning. He's like a 16-year-old boy wonder from Orissa. He's won the Pradhan Mantri Bal Puraskar Award. And wow. I asked him, so when you decided to do this, what did your parents think? And he said, he gave a very, very nice answer. He said, see, the parents are worried about your success in life and they're following that model that they have seen. They obviously don't want you to fail, right? And so a lot of the questions that I'm getting are kind of centered around what happens if I let my child follow their passion and then they don't make enough income, or they, to have a good quality of life, or the fact that what if I myself am struggling to make a living? I am trying very hard, and then the child goes and says, no, I actually don't want to go to school or do this or do this. I want to do something that's totally different, right? Something that you just wouldn't expect. But often a lot of great personalities are born out of those situations. So what do you have to say about that fear aspect on this part of the, Yeah,
I addressed some of that early on, Aditi. I think if the question is from a parent, I think my advice to you would be have faith in how you brought them up. We end up questioning our own upbringing, mean how we brought up the kid, not our upbringing or how we brought up the kid. Let's go back to the basic, and I really, really believe this. If they have passion, and if we have, as parents, while raising those kids, if we taught them personal leadership and accountability, I think these things have to go hand in hand. I think there are several, we can talk for 3 more hours on these topics, but we don't have time. Aditi talked about self-awareness, knowing who you are. Personal accountability and leadership. My parents are giving me autonomy to make my own decisions, but I cannot make my own decision and hold my parents accountable. It doesn't work that way, right? So if you're teaching them accountability, and then we say, follow your passion, believe me. And I haven't seen any data to prove me wrong yet. Fortunately, touch or cross fingers. If you do that, sooner than later, they would find that passion. And again, could they be making $70,000 a year in the United States, but be really happy artists or painters? Possibly. my contention actually would be that if they are that passionate, and if you have actually raised them the way I talked about, and generally these kids go to good schools, education upbringing is good, I don't think they will be that $70,000 situation. I really don't think so. So short answer is, believe in yourself. It's not about just saying to your kids, hey, you can do what you want, I will support you. You need to believe in it, because they are watching your body language and all the unspoken word. Remember, you are the gatekeeper to that passion. You have the complete power to turn that switch on or off.
That's well said, Vinny ji, because once you're accountable, then you're also like, if you fail, it's your failure. If you succeed, it's your success. No one can take that away from you. You're the one who's fighting in the ring. Um, and being accountable, I think, also allows you to be accountable to yourself and say, I need to get this done. So what do I need to do in order to do it? And I get why you're saying accountability. Um, Switching gears a little bit, you came to the topic of test scores, and everybody has a great test score. Everybody has a great resume when you're applying for a top college. But now, um, the whole concept of testing has become, all colleges are going test optional, right? So what does this mean? And particularly, I feel that, okay, the colleges are going test optional, that's one less thing that they have to study and spend their time on. That's more time that they can actually focus on their passion and figure out who they are. So what does this mean for each student? Like, the college, the whole testing process is going optional.
Yeah, I think it means two things for students still in middle or high school. It means two things. The first is the value of becoming that well-rounded, passion-driven student. It just goes up so much more. I'm going to say something harsh, but it's fact-based. Test scores is something that Indian Americans and Chinese Americans are really good at. It was a core competency of the society, guys. Huge industries in India for joint entrance exam or CPMT, the medical test and all that. It's pervasive. Everybody knows how to work around those tests. That candy has been taken away or will be taken away, right? What does that mean? That for top colleges, what's left? GPA, and what's left is your passion-driven well-roundedness. So you just need all the stuff that I said to you today. It just becomes so much real. The second part, and I just very quickly, because GPA and test scores were the two primary determinants of academic credentials, one of those is going away or will go away. You would need to improve your study skills to improve your GPA and associated things. Because remember, there is no way to offset that GPA anymore through test scores. So the world's changing around us.
Very true, Vinny ji. The world is changing. This whole situation has disrupted. It's kind of like a disruptor in every area. And anytime there is disruption, that's an opportunity to get creative. And when we see this disruption going on around us, it has even affected the educational sector. And there, now children and parents are forced to think about different ways. They're forced to think about, okay, why am I studying? What is the main reason for this subject that I'm focusing on? Because I do hear a lot of cases where parents and children, they're planning their courses. This gives me higher credits, this gives me lesser credits, I'm going to pick this over this. But I think now that the test is becoming optional, personally, just like you said, I feel that you have a chance to become a better person. And which means that and automatically your study skills become better. You're working on revising the things that you don't know, building your strengths, learning the material really instead of just regurgitating it.
Very well said. All of that stuff, and attributes like things like kindness, empathy, teamwork, collaboration, they will keep becoming more and more important, especially as the world, our job markets keep going more and more virtual.
Definitely, because there is a higher need for that. Personally, myself, I'm stuck in meetings from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. But so the only connection over there is learning how to function in that mode. Wonderful, Vinny ji. This has been a very, very inspiring and an educational session, and I hope everybody that's been watching has benefited from it. Please follow UC Easy on their Facebook page, and Vinny, and I guess this video will be on the JKYog Online YouTube channel, so you can access it anytime you want, and you can watch it later as well. And Vinny ji, thank you once again. We are at the top of the hour. For taking time out, we know you have a choice, and you chose to speak at the JKYog Youth Conference and to inspire all of us with your holistic college application and admissions process. And thank you for bringing the focus back on who we are.
Appreciate the opportunity, Aditi. And just very quickly, the company name is with a Z. It's UCEAZY.
Yes.
Aditi, thank you for the opportunity. It's been a privilege, and I wish everyone all the best.
Thank you, Vinny.